Welcome back to Beyond the Edge of Sanity with your host, Sheepdog Smokey. I don't know how long I'll be able to actually read on this article just because I can't normally stomach Washington Post, but we're going to see what we can do here. Because from what I've seen, there are some claims in here that I would personally be all but shouting at my writers if I was an editor. I want your source. I may not make you name it in the article, but I want it as your editor. But according to WaPo, Trump's America has reached scandal overload. Can democracy survive it? First point of contention, we are not a democracy. We are a representative republic. There is a difference. Over the weekend, Kirstjen Nielsen resigned as Homeland Security Secretary. But buried in the reporting about her resignation was an alarming nugget. President Trump repeatedly pressured her to engage in illegal behavior to sidestep the rule of law. Please cite your source. That should be disqualifying conduct for any president, but it won't have any discernible impact on Trump. He won't lose any votes because of it, because you can't ever prove your accusations. It won't even make any headlines. It's making one right now. Instead, it remains buried within a bigger story about the resignation of a cabinet secretary who was effectively imprisoning children and tearing them away from their parents at the border. Wrong. No children are being torn away from their parents at the border. Most of them are torn away from their parents in their home country to be used as a costume accoutrement at the border to say, I bring child, let me in. I don't know that Washington Post ever reported on the story where I believe it was either ICE or CBP found a young girl all but raped to death in the desert in Mexico, brought along as basically entertainment for the animals dragging her through that wasteland. Worse still, that's a comparatively minor scandal these days. Trump has almost certainly committed federal crimes by directing alleged hush money payments and reimbursing them while in office. Prove it. What about Paula Jones and the 6 figures paid to her by Bill Clinton? There is strong evidence that he engaged in criminal tax fraud for decades. I'm going to say this very clearly. If the IRS did not prosecute him, there was no crime. If you don't think the IRS would have gone after a billionaire for tax fraud when they used it to bring down a thug named Al Capone, then you're an idiot. He attacked hurricane victims like a social media bully while an estimated 3,000 of them died on his watch. No, he did not. He spoke out about Carmen Yulin Ruiz and the other corrupt politicians in Puerto Rico. Yulin Ruiz herself gave a press conference standing in front of pallets full of humanitarian aid, while she lambasted the president for not sending aid. We had trucks that were sitting in parking lots because they were not allowed to move, either by their union or by the government there in Puerto Rico. We had a United States naval hospital ship sent to that island to help. It was not President Trump who, for decades, spent money horribly as opposed to upgrading the horrible infrastructure on that island. And his entourage is defined by criminal and corrupt conduct, including close associates who are now in jail and family members who should be allowed in the White House only on a visitor pass. Close associates? Wrong. If you look at them, many of them are very, very close to people now trying to overthrow Donald Trump. Others of them became close to him in the most recent of years. And if you want to talk about people who should not be allowed in the White House, save on a visitor pass, what about Bo Bergdahl, brought to the White House, praised as a hero by Barack Obama after his desertion cost the lives of other soldiers? The United States has reached scandal overload, a political tipping point when the news is so overloaded with corrupt or criminal behavior that has already become the new normal. We've started to tune it out. Another indictment, another abuse of power for private gain. Welcome to your average Tuesday in the Trumpiverse. Uranium One, Seth Rich. How many others killed mysteriously? What about a very healthy man named Antonin Scalia, who goes on a short vacation and mysteriously dies in his sleep, and Barack Obama blocks the autopsy? You know why there's only talk of scandal in the news? Because all but Fox News is beholden to the DNC so much that they are now co conspirators in an attempt at treason, that being overthrowing a duly elected president. The IRS has looked at all of the taxes filed. And while I'm sure many of the liberals will scream, Trump didn't pay his fair share, none of it was illegal. Look to Al Sharpton. Millions owed to the IRS. No one says a word. Look to Alyssa Milano, who stopped paying workers and also didn't pay taxes. But she's praised as a warrior for justice when she demands that we just believe women, until one of them is accusing the Democratic Lieutenant Governor of Virginia when, well, we need to make sure these allegations pan out. I can't read more of this. I'll put it into the link, or the link in the description if you can stomach it. But there's a very simple rule when it comes to allegations in the United States. The accuser must prove their allegation. You are not required to prove you did not do something. They are required to prove you did. There is a trend with the supposed mainstream media today where allegations are thrown until we have no room to walk. They use these allegations as, well, look at how many people are saying things happened. What people? You never tell us who. You just tell us, well, it's in the report. What report? Well, I have to keep my sources confidential. When Kavanaugh was being confirmed, Blasey Ford only knew that something happened somewhere about 30 years ago with someone there that was a witness, and every witness she called remembered nothing. Her polygraph was a joke. Swetnick was found out to be a bald-faced liar. Avenatti is now going to jail for fraud. But we're supposed to believe all of these people who proved nothing but that they hate the president, when just a short few years ago, all of them would have been clamoring for tickets to his gala, because ponying up to Donald Trump, the citizen, who was not going to be political, well, he's a billionaire, we love him. I would ask the Washington Post, if there is supposed evidence that he has engaged in criminal tax fraud for decades, why is it that the Clintons and all of their little entourage for decades, until he decided to run as a Republican against Hillary, absolutely loved him? Kathy Griffin, who made the stupid decision to mock assassinate someone, we have pictures of her at his parties. We have pictures of Hillary and Bill with Trump. You only now bring this up because he dared defy the Democrat machine and win an election when it was rigged for Hillary. And none of you will bring forth any source material at all. You all hide behind, I have to keep my sources confidential. No, at this point, you are engaging in slander. And honestly, I hope someone sues the pants off of all of these organizations. If some are exonerated because they provide their sources in court and it proves out, I will apologize. But for all of those who say, even when charged with slander, I can't tell you why I said it, I want to watch you go down in flames for slander. This is not a country where you get to call someone the most horrid things you do as possible and walk away scot-free. That is slander. Or in this case, when you put it in print, it's libel. Both criminal acts. If you have the evidence, turn it in. If someone doesn't want to be publicly known as the source, then you don't report on it, other than, I've advised someone who says they have evidence of crimes to go to law enforcement. And then you wait for said law enforcement to release a statement. It's the way the world is supposed to work, but we have a 3-tier justice system. Tier 1 are the swamp monsters: Pelosi, Feinstein, Waters, Schumer, Sanders, Booker, Clinton. They don't even get charges. Tier 2, Washington Post, Jussie Smollett, and the rest of them, where if they're charged, someone magically makes the charges go away. And then they get to claim they are a hero for standing up for what's right. And then Tier 3 are we the peasants, who aren't even allowed to wrong think today. We're told that a red hat is tantamount to assault, while Antifa are to be praised as warriors for justice as they swing a bicycle lock at your head because you say, no, it's a private event, you weren't going, they can invite who they want. It's insanity and it has to stop. And unfortunately, it's only likely to stop when someone is actually sued for slander or libel, and they're forced in open court to defend their statements. Although I firmly believe we will hear then, Judge, it's journalistic integrity. I cannot give you my source. Because then I hope the judge says, if you're not willing to prove your accusations are true, by default we must assume they're false, and I will rule. But even then, we have so many activist idiot liberals on benches all over this country that I'm more in line to believe that that judge will say this brave journalist is willing to risk jail to defend their integrity, so I rule they are not guilty. But I've ranted on this one long enough. Washington Post always gets my blood boiling because this is nothing but lies and innuendo and fake news meant to help overthrow the duly elected president of this country. And I'm tired of it. But let me know what you think. Keep it civil. I'm not even going to say keep it classy here because I can barely remain classy when it comes to WaPo. But keep it civil, and of course keep it all factual. We do not learn from baseless arguments. We learn from reasoned debate. Also, please like the video and consider subscribing and ringing notifications so that you're kept abreast of all new content as it's published. Until the next time, everyone have a wonderful day.